I feel as a content creator, when God works on something with me, it's partially for my own growth and partially because he wants me to make a video about it to help other people who might be going through the same thing. So I'm going to make this video to tell you all what 2023 was really like for me. So I spent almost the entire year by myself. I barely left my apartment. I went on some walks. I went grocery shopping. I went to church. I did the things, but I was not out partying it up. I think I went out like twice to like the bars in the whole year, and I would hang out with friends occasionally if they invited me, but I didn't ask at all. Like, I spent this year very much by myself, and that was by design. You see, prior to this year, I don't know if I could ever truly say that I loved myself or that I loved being with myself or that I was completely comfortable with myself. And I'm not going to say I'm 100% there, but I'm much more there now than I was because I went through what I went through. So last year in September, I moved from Ohio to Florida. I felt like God wanted me to do it, so I did. And I got here, had a lot of fun right out the gate. This personality was on point, made a ton of friends, life was good. Then through a series of unfortunate events, I lost like 80 to 90% of those friends, and that's okay. And then I almost died in December of last year, or December of 2022, I should say. And because I got caught in a snowstorm and the heater in my car broke and I got like stranded and I thought I was going to die, but then I hit a bump of something, no idea what it was, and all of a sudden my heater started working. Thank you, God. And I lived literally because of that. I would probably not be here right now. So that was kind of traumatic. Knowing you're about to die is not something I would recommend necessarily. And one second. And then of course there was the man. I had a huge crush on this guy, was completely and totally enthralled with him for no reason. I had only met him a handful of times, but like my brain had written this like whole love story and I was like obsessed with him. And then in December I kind of made peace with the realization that I do not like he does not like me back as much as I like him, or in any capacity for that matter. And barely, if I disappeared, wouldn't even notice. And I was like, wow, you have spent the last like 6 months making this person a main character in your life, and you're not even a side character in their story. So that was a little disheartening. So that happened. And then I went to this event, a big networking event, the first one I've like ever done, and I was way out of my element, very uncomfortable, and like just everything was bogging down on me. And I had a birthday party and for my 30th birthday, and it was supposed to be like this huge birthday bash, and then every single person on the guest list either bailed or just didn't respond to the invite, and I ended up going birthday shopping for myself by myself on my birthday and having a mild midlife crisis and buying myself a skateboard with a picture of a cat eating a slice of pizza on it. But you know what? I didn't cheat on my wife, so I feel like that's low in terms of midlife crises. So that all happened, but I was at this event shortly after a lot of this had happened, and it was a big worship service. Kim Walker-Smith was performing. It was great. I was there. I was worshiping. I was sad, but I was whatever. I was in the presence of the Lord, and that helps. And this girl, who I barely knew, just comes up to me, and she's like, I just feel like God wanted me to pray for you. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So she starts praying, and I truly don't remember a word of her prayer. We got about 5 words in before something just snapped, and I just started bawling my eyes out, trauma dumping on this poor girl and her friends, and they were like, oh, okay. But she said something to me that was like truly profound. She said, God has had me in many seasons of isolation before. And it was really deep because prior to that, I thought I was like being attacked by the devil. And to have her say, God has had me in many seasons of isolation, it kind of changed my perspective. Like, oh, God has me in isolation to work on me, because some things just weren't making sense. Good, truly reliable friends letting me down in ways that they just logically shouldn't have happened. And I'm like, oh. And I did feel there was something with all of my friendships, this void that had been made. And it wasn't anything I was doing or anything they were doing. It was just an obstacle. And then I realized, I was like, God is literally separating me because I was dependent on all of these people emotionally. And to God created this void where I could not be dependent on them anymore. So I got back from Christmas. This is after I almost died. And I was like, I'm back in Florida at this point. And I was like, I'm just going to spend January by myself, just in isolation. Like, I'm going to lean into what God's doing. I'm going to pray. I'm going to, and it was a kind of a suspiciously good month. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I enjoyed not hanging out with people and just watching nerdy YouTube videos and praying and hanging out with my cat. And, but then it happened again in February, and then in March, and then in April, and this isolation period just kind of kept rolling. And then the whole year was gone. I think I'm out of it now, but I'm truly not sure. But I did notice probably like 8 or so, maybe 9 months into my isolation, because again, I've been praying, like, oh my God, I'm so alone. Like, why have you sent me to Florida? Like, I know you were calling me here. Why am I here? That is what I kept. And it was not even so much why am I here as in Florida, but like, why am I here in life? Like, what is the point? So I continuously was praying and praying and praying, and then I was on a walk, and I walked past this woman, and I was singing, and normally I stop singing when people walk by. Like, I'm not gonna performing for people, but like, just like I stopped singing because I feel self-conscious for some reason, even though I have an amazing voice. And I just kept singing when I walked past her, and I was like, well, that's new. And then another time I was filming a video in my car, and these people walked by, and normally I would like stop and be like, okay, they're gone. Now I can keep filming. And I just kept filming as they walked by. And I was like, what is happening? And I started to realize that I was starting to care less and less what strangers thought about me, which in even my career, like sometimes I don't want to make a video because I'm like, oh, well, what if my friends see this and they get mad and blah, blah. And I just really started to not care. And it wasn't until honestly very recently that I realized what God was doing. And while I was sitting here praying to God, like, what am I supposed to be directing my energy towards? What am I supposed to be doing? I was reminded of when I was in like 10th grade and I was on a walk and I was having like, I've always been a little crazy. So I was like freaking out, like, God, what do I do? I need to have a college picked out, blah, blah, like, the high school stuff. And I remember praying to God, and I remember God's answer was just rest. And I'm like, rest? That's not an action. Like, what am I supposed to be doing, God? And I never rested. I never did what he said. And I realized then that we had come full circle, and this last year has been rest. It has been rest. It has been healing. It's been restoration. And I'm realizing now that I'm so comfortable with myself. Like, if it's just me and myself in a room, I know I'm in good company. And so having that kind of burden lifted where I'm like not angry at myself, not beating myself up, not being like, you're not doing good enough, blah, blah. I've learned how to love myself, and not in like an egotistical way, because I already knew how to do that. But just like being comfortable with me. And I realized that while I was, again, trying to focus on all these external things, God was just working on me, and I had no idea. And I realized that in this period of isolation, my personality has changed. I've matured. I have grown. I have like blossomed into someone who's brave enough to say what they feel. Like, I've always been that way, but I'm like a whole new level of that. And I just realized that so many, like, all those horrible things happened, which triggered me to kind of pull into myself and just be like, all right, God, let's work. Whatever you're working on, let's work on it. And now I'm like coming out the other side. I'm not going to say I'm out because I don't know, but I'm coming out the other side, and I'm glad that I spent the last year alone. I'm glad that I spent a year learning to love myself. This last year, though I may not have been out there doing fun activities or whatever, this has been one of the most valuable years of my life. So if you're watching this video and you are struggling with loving yourself, you are struggling with that dependency on other people, I want to encourage you to choose to be alone. Like, if you really need someone, I'm not saying like you're crying your eyes out, you're like, no, I have to be alone. But like, you must try to teach yourself, with God, of course, pray to God, be like, God, I need your help on this, but teach yourself how to be comfortable with yourself. And the best way this has taught me is to just be with yourself. I spend now so much time with myself. New Year's just passed, and I remember being like, okay, I don't have any plans. I need to make plans. What do I want to do? And I just remember being like, I just went and did a huge networking event in Phoenix. Then I went home for Christmas and was socializing with family the whole time, which is, both of those things are wonderful things. I'm like, I'm tired. I just want to stay by myself. So I ordered myself a pizza and I just played video games, and it was a wonderful new year. It was wonderful. So I have learned to be comfortable in my own skin, and I'm positive that I'm in a false sense of security and God's got more. I'm sure there's more coming, but I'm excited about it because it's teaching me how to grow and how to better myself. So I want to encourage each and every one of you, don't be afraid to be alone if you need to. Lean into isolation if you have to, and but be with God. Don't just be alone. Be alone with God. And your life will change. You will be transformed. I'm like a totally different person now, and I'm super excited about it. And I love the person I've grown to become, and I love the person that I was before. It's weird, but that has been my lesson of 2023. My cat's about to jump down on my light fixture, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I love you guys, and I hope you're having an amazing. Hope you have an amazing coming year. It's gonna be amazing for all of us. All right, love you guys. Bye.